The leader at that time was a man called Eli, the high priest. And it says in verse 12 that his sons were worthless men, godless men who had no fear of God. It's very sad when a high priest has children who are godless, who have no fear of God. And what is worse, when they begin to take part in the ministry. I mean, if they are godless and go and do something else, that's okay. But these people were godless, and they were there in the temple, helping their father in the ministry with absolutely no fear of God. They did not know the Lord, and they would steal from the sacrifices, and they would commit adultery with the women in the temple. And Eli's response to all this was very, very weak. It says in chapter 2 and verse 22, Eli was very old and he heard all that his sons were doing. And what does he tell them? He doesn't turn them out of the ministry and say, get out of here, don't dishonor the Lord if you're going to live like that. No, he says in verse 24, my sons, it's not good what I hear. And he's so spineless and weak in the way he corrects his children. I mean, forget correcting his children as far as his family is concerned. Here, God's people were involved. And he would not correct his children. But in contrast to those godless children was Samuel, who grew up, it says in verse 26, in stature and in favor, both with the Lord and with men. And we read further in chapter 3 how Samuel's ministry begins. Because God was fed up with Eli, and he sent a man of God to Eli in verse 27 of chapter 2 and told him that your ministry is finished because your children are dishonoring me and dishonoring my sacrifice. And verse 29, the middle, he says, Eli, your sin is that you honor your sons more than you honor me. And then we find this wonderful verse, which is a very good verse for us to remember all through our life. In the middle of verse 30, the Lord says, those who honor me, I will honor. And those who despise me will be lightly esteemed. It's a wonderful verse to live by. If you honor God, you can be sure that He will honor you. Eli did not honor God in the way he dealt with his children, and therefore he suffered and his children suffered too.